Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Overbooked. I'm Amanda, and today I will be reviewing Beartown and Us Against You. So I'm in a little different location than I usually am and I'm holding this phone up by myself because they're like doing renovations on our apartment and it's really noisy in our living room, and I just really need to get this video filmed, and so I decided to come in here. This is going to be a little bit better. So I want to say first off that I am going to do the first half of this video spoiler free. So I'm going to do a little quick review and talk about my thoughts of these books and tell you what they're about. And then I'm going to tell you when I'm going to start going into spoilers. Ready? Let's do it. I first read Beartown, and I read this last month. So you can go back to my June wrap-up video and I talk about this book there as well, but I'll talk obviously about it right here. Beartown is a story of a town called Beartown in the middle of essentially nowhere. And it is a town that is very heavily involved in the sport of ice hockey, and it is what the town lives and breathes for. There is a junior team that has the potential to take home the first place championship. So this book interweaves all these different character stories, the characters of the boys on the hockey team, the characters of the siblings, and the characters of the parents, the characters. There's the character of the GM of the stadium, his wife and his kids, and how they all are intertwined and going on in this whole story. I honestly found a lot of this common. I mean, there was an immense pressure on these boys to do well, and the only thing that they were taught to do was to win. And, you know, I grew up in a pretty small town, and all we had were sports. And, you know, it's very important to win, especially when that's a lot of what your town is rooting for is in its sports. When a tragic incident happens to a young girl of the town is split. They have to choose between their love for hockey and what it means to them and this girl. One of my favorite quotes in this book is there's a character in it called Ramona, and she's the bartender at this pub called the Bearskin, and she's like the rough and tough mom, grandma figure of this town. And she says to the general manager, it's not that you're asking the town to choose between right or wrong. You're choosing the town to pick between good and evil. The whole book encircles around this tragedy that happens to this girl and how the town reacts to that, just aftermath of all of that. Us Against You is the aftermath of everything that happens in Beartown and how the town moves on from that event or doesn't. We see a lot more of the same characters, but we're introduced to a lot of new ones. And I think that it was done just as well as it was done in Beartown. I think we take on a lot of more different stories in Us Against You, not of just this tragic incident that happened to this girl, but more stories about how a family sticks together and reconciles after a tragedy, what happens between friendships as we grow older, and very impactful things happen to us in our lives, just the struggles of being a teenager and an adult trying to seek acceptance and progression. I think Frederick Bachman did a great job on these two books. I think the character development is hands down amazing. I think it's one of the best parts of these books and of this author. There's a lot of characters in these books, but you feel like you know every single one, from the main ones to the small characters that don't play a huge I shouldn't say impactful, but not a huge role, but are still amazing part of the story. I highly recommend, if you haven't read them already, please go out and read Beartown and Us Against You and let me know what you think. Okay, guys. Because I love these books so much, I need to spoil some shit. So here is the part where I'm gonna start spoiling stuff. First of all, I just want to say there's a trigger warning for a lot of stuff in these books. There's a trigger warning for bullying, and this tragic event that happens in Beartown to a young girl is a rape. Trigger warning on those two fronts. I didn't want to spoil what this tragic incident was, because I think you deserve to go in unknowing, because the whole time you're wondering what is going to happen and who does it. And I think part of figuring that out is part of the pleasure you take in reading a book, is uncovering truths for yourself. So that's why I didn't really want to spoil it in the first half. The rape that happens, it happens to Meyer Anderson, and she is the daughter of the GM of the hockey club. And the person who rapes her is Kevin, who is the star of the junior team. They decide to go to the authorities the day of the championship game, which Beartown ends up losing. And the town ultimately blames Maya and Peter, her father, for this loss. Not a lot of people in the town believe Maya. They think she's lying. They think that she's just trying to seek attention. They think her dad is trying to get revenge because he couldn't let the junior team win, which is all insane because there was nobody in that town that loved hockey more than Peter Anderson. I think that there, especially in this era of Me Too and all the sexual assault cases that are coming out, is women are never believed and they should be believed. No woman wants what happened to Maya happen to her. And I think the most moving part of this book is she doesn't tell anybody for a week. She doesn't go to the authorities, she doesn't tell her parents, nothing for an entire week because she is so ashamed of herself, which is a very common thread of victims. She only tells her best friend, and her best friend is obviously going to stick by her side no matter what decision she makes, because that's what we do for our best friends. One day she's staring out the window and her best friend is down in the yard playing with these two little girls that they used to babysit. And it's in that moment when she sees their carefree and joyful playing that she knows that she has to come forward and say something so those girls don't have to go through what she did. It's a tearjerker. Regard Maya in this situation because I think it's a very hard thing to do in a situation like that. She's doing it to protect other people. The onset of just hatred she receives afterwards, which she knew she was gonna get, is honestly I think a clear indicator of she's probably not lying. She's not asking for any of this. I think we all understand how it is in this time. No matter how truthful a female can be or how truthful any victim, girl or boy, are, I feel like there are always people on the other side that choose to believe the perpetrator or the assaulter, and it's just how it is. In this case, I think the town refused to believe her because they really just wanted it to not be true. They wanted their star hockey player back. They wanted a reason to blame their loss, and they just couldn't come to terms with what had happened. You see it all the time, and I think Frederick Bachman did a really great job of portraying what really happens. In the end, Kevin gets away with what he's done. The courts find him not guilty, and it's very disappointing. But the town takes Peter Anderson's side. And in an event where like a town council meeting, Amat, a boy who was also on the junior hockey team, who had a crush on Maya, witnessed the rape and comes forward, backs Maya up, and essentially turns this whole crowd not against Kevin, but they decide that they can't publicly say that he didn't do it anymore. This book is so tender and so real and so raw and so full of emotions that honestly I tore through it. And you feel for every single person in this book. That's how great he is at writing each character so well. You really feel like you know every single person, and you even the people that you hate, you like at times because he's telling every single part of their life that matters. So Beartown ends, and then we go on to Us Against You, which is just involving this huge aftermath of how Kevin ends up leaving town. His parents end up getting divorced, they leave town, and now everyone is separated. All these players went to the rival town of Head because they wanted to support Kevin, who I don't even know. We see Kevin in like the first chapter, and then we don't hear from him the rest of the book. So I'm kind of confused if he actually played on the hockey team. I don't think he did because I think it would have been mentioned. But regardless, these players in support of Kevin go and play for Head because they can't stay in Beartown. So Us Against You is this huge rivalry between two towns, Head and Beartown, and it gets real intense. You know how you have these small town rivalries? And I think a lot of since I moved to Michigan, I've seen a lot of suburb rivalries. Like, okay, well, there's two schools in one town and we always compete against each other. And we had that when I was growing up. It was like T versus Linux, like who's gonna win, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, that's kind of how it is. And it makes a lot of sense, but I've never seen physical fights happen because we lose a basketball game. But in Beartown and Head, this is just commonplace. So this book really just talks about the violence in this rivalry and how these characters who were so affected in Beartown are trying to move on with their lives and are just trying to get back up. I thought again that this was really beautifully written, and it deals with a whole other issue of homosexuality and coming out to a town that doesn't really accept the LGBTQ community. And one of the main characters who plays hockey is outed, and as a result of that, a lot of the book deals with the aftermath of that. And throughout Us Against You, you still see Maya struggling with a lot of her peers. People are calling her princess. They still think of her as a slut. They think of her as a liar. And she's just trying to get day by day. And the only thing that causes me salvation throughout this whole entire book is Frederick Bachman has this timeline going where he's going with the present, and then occasionally he'll throw in sentences like, she'll remember this moment for the rest of her life, or 10 years from now, she'll be playing a guitar in front of a stage of thousands, or whatever. And so you know, like, this character is going to be going somewhere, this character does something, but how they get there is a mystery. Us Against You is just as good as Beartown. I thought neither was better than the other, and I thought they went so well together. Honestly, you could have just made one giant book and I would have read it. There's even more character development, there's love stories, there's friendships, and how they go and how they break and how they come back together, the story of a survival of a family after they deal with this terrible tragedy. So much things that I think we all deal with, all condensed into this small town. It was just really good. Okay, I'm done talking about spoilers. Spoiler done, spoiler free now, woohoo! Okay, so I rambled on for a very, very long time, and I'm very sorry about that, but I really love these books, and I honestly think that they're one of the best books I've read of 2019 so far, and I talk about that in my mid-year freakout tag, which I can link below. I truly think that these books are important, they deal with very important issues, and they like highlight what actually really happens in real life in towns across the country. I think that it was, you know, it wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't a let's gloss this over. I thought it was very real and very brutally honest. A beautiful story to read. These characters were so compelling. They were so great. I wish I could meet them in real life. I wish there was a movie. Can HBO get on this? Where's Reese Witherspoon at? Like, hello sunshine, let's get in here and let's start it up. Okay, I'm done. These books were amazing. I really think that if you haven't read them, you should go out and check them out from your local library, buy them from a local bookstore, and binge read these suckers, and then tell me all about what you think of them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, and I promise you there won't be any more videos of me just hanging out in my room and this is a background. Thanks for stopping by. I will see you guys next week.